Creative Spark, powered by PechaKucha. I'm Ian Fenwick, your MC and past chair of the Chilliwack Creative Commission, the organization that is bringing you this, our 10th annual PechaKucha event. We are live from Studio C in Midtown Chilliwack and in person and streamed online. The Creative Commission actively works to support film, TV, commercial production, plus all manner of interactive, digital, and creative activity. Through this work, the Commission aims to help develop economic opportunities in the growing creative industry sector while enriching the quality of life here in Chilliwack. The Commission acknowledges with gratitude that our creative work takes place on the unceded traditional territory of the Stalo Nation. I ask Commission member Sandra Bonner-Peterson to offer her First Nations welcome to PechaKucha 2025. Sandra.
Ace-whale, Ethlot Quilmuk Tilsqui Talitzel Quachiactal. Good day, my traditional name is Ethlot, my given name is Sandra Bonner-Peterson. I am a leader for my community at Chiacton First Nation, and I would like to welcome everybody to the Stalo territory. I raise my hands up in welcome.
The Commission is this smiling group of passionate, creative leaders. Drawn from a cross-section of the community, these individuals work to develop connections among local creatives, helping to establish a fertile environment for creative work in Chilliwack. They are assisted by 3 very capable staff members pictured on the right side of the slide. While all members of the Commission have contributed to organizing this PechaKucha, key to this event are Tim McAlpine, who is juggling audio, video, streaming, and recording of this production in his studio over there, and Matt Hawkins, who is helping in the green room. And Nettie Tam, I think she's out front tonight, CEPCO Manager of Economic Development, has been coordinating the entire event. The Creative Commission is a committee of the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation, or CEPCO, the economic development arm of the City of Chilliwack. Thanks to both CEPCO and Mayor Ken Popov and City Council for their support for the ongoing work of the Commission. Here is Councillor Jason Lum, the city's representative and chair of the Chilliwack Creative Commission, to offer his perspective on behalf of Mayor and Council. Jason, please.
Thank you very much, Ian, and I just wanted to quickly say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. It's a big night, and you've chosen to spend it with us. Obviously a very important hockey game that's happening, so you could have made other choices. I'm so happy that you chose to be here tonight, supporting all these wonderful creatives and supporting the Chilliwack Creative Commission. I've been so fortunate to be on the Creative Commission. I think since I was elected back in 2011, it's the one committee that they haven't been able to wrestle out of my hands at the city. I'm willing to give up every other committee but this one. And Ian reminded me last time, or Tim reminded me last time, that I said, unabashedly last PechaKucha, the Creative Commission really is my favorite committee, and it's the best committee of the City of Chilliwack. And then somebody was like on one of my other committees, and they're like, hey, what about us? We have that one. I doubled down. It is the best committee of the City of Chilliwack. And so on behalf of Mayor and Council, thank you all for being here. Thank you to all the organizers. Thank you to the Creative Commission. Thank you to all the speakers. It is so enjoyable to be here and not have to be a speaker. I think PechaKucha 1 or 2, Tim will know. And so to be here tonight and just to get to watch and heckle Nicole especially, and I encourage you all, definitely heckle Councillor Reid with me. But they're all going to be amazing. And I learn something new every single time with the PechaKucha. I get to discover something new about the creative community in Chilliwack and all the things that we have to offer. So thank you so much for being here, and go Canada, go.
Thank you, Councillor Lum. We would appreciate you, members of our audience, to connect with your friends online about this event. Please use Creative Chilliwack as the hashtag. Please feel free to take pictures, unlike other events, and post either during or after the event. This evening's program will be continuous for about 70 minutes without an intermission. And a word to the presenters, remember you have a 5-second countdown on the confidence monitor, after which your presentation begins. Now we are ready to begin. Our first presenter is Darren Blakeborough, longtime member of the Creative Commission and professor of Media and Cultural Studies at the University of the Fraser Valley, where he studies and teaches about popular culture, technology, and social gerontology. Self-described as the quintessential master of none, his creative hobbies and interests pull him in all directions, including publishing a book on the representations of aging on The Simpsons, producing, directing, and editing a feature-length documentary film, and playing guitar in metal bands and musicals. Each year, he interviews filmmakers and studio executives for the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival. In all these endeavors, he excels, belying his self-deprecating descriptor. Darren is a true Chilliwack creative treasure who will now share some perspectives on artificial intelligence. Darren, please.
Thank you, Ian.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
I know that the idea of a sentient AI ignoring its programming in order to protect itself from its human overlord is one thing that a lot of people conjure up when thinking about artificial intelligence. I would like to change that narrative, or at the very least get us to think about it in different ways. Because today, it seems like no matter where we turn, AI is there, and it has been incorporated into almost everything. Smart cars, smart appliances, chatbots, social media, digital assistants. Some see artificial intelligence as a tool for progress, while others fear that it will be humanity's downfall. The truth? Well, falls somewhere in the middle. But make no mistake, news media loves scary stories about AI. They have 5 times more engagement than positive stories. So as a result, it can feel like this apocalyptic view of artificial intelligence dominates the ways that we understand and see AI. But remember that fear-based content may generate views and clicks, but it rarely, if ever, tells the full story. And it's not just the news. For decades, popular culture has shaped our fears about AI, from evil robots to rogue systems to dystopian futures. And of course, nothing fuels fear as much as an intrusive and annoyingly helpful assistant who won't stop interrupting. But that isn't to say that AI doesn't have some things that we should be concerned about. We've seen the impact of deep fakes on misinformation in the political process, and we do have to ask questions about the role of AI in automation of labor. But we also need to recognize the creative potential that artificial intelligence has. Yet even in the creative realm, AI generates legitimate concerns. Will AI replace writers? A significant part of the recent writer's strike in Hollywood was about just that. And there are moral and there are ethical concerns. But to my question here, can AI expand human creative potential? So rather than looking at artificial intelligence as the end of all humanity, or as the greatest thing since sliced bread, okay, and side note there, is sliced bread still the pinnacle of human achievement? Has nothing since 1928 bested sliced bread? Nothing? Not rockets or television or Count Chocula? But yes, I did Google it with 1928. I had to look it up. But to my point, AI isn't here to replace us. Ultimately, it's just another tool in our creative toolbox, like a paintbrush or another camera lens. Used appropriately, it can enhance, not erase, our creativity. And here's some of the ways that it can. I mean, at some point, we have all experienced writer's block, that frustrating inability to generate new material. You can tell a generative AI what you're doing or what you're thinking and let it provide you with ideas, strategies to kickstart your creativity. It can make an outline, brainstorm, or break down that bigger task into smaller, manageable pieces. An AI can build you a mood board. It can generate images based off of your text prompts that instantly visualize an idea. And that can inform color choices or let you easily explore different styles. Most importantly, the final decision is always yours. An AI can generate melodies to explore moods or sonic textures. If you're stuck in a rut, it can help you think differently about your creative process. Filmmakers use AI to brainstorm, to create outlines, or to get suggestions on edits. Don't have any drawing skills? You can use an AI to create a storyboard. The key is not to think of artificial intelligence as an adversary. Rather, use AI as a collaborator. Bounce ideas off of it. Allow it to offer suggestions or provide fresh perspectives you may not have considered. AI can help us redefine what we are capable of. There are already many artists using AI to expand their capacity for creative exploration. I mean, from the camera obscura to Photoshop, innovation has always shaped the arts. Artificial intelligence is just another significant driver of human creativity moving forward. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, I used a generative AI putting this presentation together. I already had the theme, Creative Spark, and because I had been dealing with AI a lot in the last couple of years, I knew I wanted to talk about it. So I provided it a text prompt, and we went from there. My AI provided me a draft structure based on my prompt with ideas for 20 slides arranged thematically. I used some, I adjusted others, I made some myself, and for some of the slides, I let AI produce images based off of my text prompt. I didn't use AI to replace my creative process. Rather, I used it to spark it. At the end of the day, all the AI can do is offer us suggestions of things we can do or ways we can approach a creative task. The decision on what and how is always with us. The AI is not the author. You are. Artificial intelligence won't replace human creativity, but creatives who use AI will have an edge over those who don't. Creativity has always changed and adapted, and this is no exception. AI can be a powerful driver for human expression. So as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. You are still bringing you to the table, your experience, your desires, your perspectives, your skills. And AI can't offer those. So embrace it, experiment with it, and make it your own. Although as I say that out loud, that really sounds like something an evil AI would say. I'm pretty sure I wrote that part by myself, so I challenge you to try it for yourself. The future of creativity is in your hands, and you can shape it however you need. So grab all of your tools and go spark something amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. One talk in, and you may be wondering about the history of this interesting presentation style. Let me briefly explain. We have invited a number of speakers representing a broad range of interests to each present 20 images showcasing their creative work or how they harness creativity in the work that they do. Each of these images plays for 20 seconds, in which time the presenters speak about the image, then automatically the image advances. That means each presentation is 20 by 20 seconds, or 6 minutes and 40 seconds exactly in length. If you aren't interested in one presentation, just you wait, another one will be along soon. This elegant and challenging for presenters format was devised to streamline overly talky slide presentations, to show more and talk less. PechaKucha events are hugely popular worldwide, regularly happening in more than 1,000 cities. PechaKucha translate in Japanese as the sound of conversation. For those attending in person this year, you have the opportunity to interact with the speakers in the lobby after the presentations, all the while enjoying the refreshments provided. Networking, discussion, and social enjoyment are all part of the PechaKucha experience. Offering her sound of conversation is Maddi Krulicki, our next speaker. Maddi is a multidisciplinary artist from Chilliwack, British Columbia, with roots in both the Sunimuk First Nation and Stalo territory. Specializing in music production and songwriting, she is also skilled in sound recording, mixing, and is a versatile multi-instrumentalist. Through her music, Maddi seeks to forge a new path for future generations, breaking free from conventional methods of thought and self-expression while honoring the strength of her Indigenous heritage. This philosophy extends to her work as a visual artist, where she explores mediums like graphic design to further express her creative vision, which she will now share with us. Maddi, please.
Thank you. The story of creativity is like a fire, sometimes steady, sometimes wavering, but always burning with potential. I am Maddi Krulicki, and this is the story of my creative spark, a journey of rediscovery, loss, and triumph. A fire may flicker, but it never truly dies. It simply waits for the right moment to be reignited. As a child, my imagination burned brightly, like the embers of a newly kindled flame. I would play with my toys, crayons, and instruments, inventing entire worlds. My creativity flowed freely like molten lava, shaping itself into new forms. I was never without fire. Every day felt like an adventure, fueled by that internal spark. My grandmother was the steady flame that nurtured my creativity. She was the one who taught me to cherish the light within me, to keep it alive without suffocating it. Her encouragement made my fire burn stronger, allowing me to believe that I could create anything I imagined. As I grew older, the world around me began to feel like a cold wind, threatening to snuff out my flame. Society told me to follow a logical path, and I began to ignore the burning emotional desires that once lit my way. My fire weakened, and the warmth of my artistic passion faded into the shadows. I chose to focus on psychology, thinking that the structured world of academia was where I should direct my energy. But as I followed this new path, my passion dulled, like a fire slowly dying in the night. I thought I had to abandon the spark that once defined me, not realizing that it was still smoldering, but very smothered. The loss of my grandmother felt like a gust of wind extinguishing my flame. I was left in the dark, a place of cold emptiness where my light was once cherished in her warm hands. Without her presence, I struggled to find any use for the ashes left inside me, and my creativity seemed to vanish. University felt like breathing in dense, heavy smoke, a tipped-over candle that burnt down the entire foundation of my life. I sunk into a depression, and without my spark, I couldn't find my way. I pushed down my emotions, burying them deeper with each passing day, until I could no longer tell where I ended and darkness began. I was lost in a dim, frigid room with a deep wound of pain in my chest. But in the ashes of my former reality, there was still a faint glow in the corner of my dorm room, my guitar. It was an invisible string of light connected to my heart, the only part of my childhood that hadn't been extinguished. I made the decision to fan those ashes and pursue music. I paused my studies and struck a match in the dark, trusting that my creativity still had the power to guide me. I knew the path ahead would be daunting, but I had to rekindle that passion before it was too late. The journey was like a flickering flame in a storm, full of uncertainty, setbacks, and frustrations. I faced constant rejection and betrayal over and over. And there were times when I considered letting my passion fade again. But even in the gusts of doubt, I knew I had to keep the flame burning, no matter how fragile it seemed when others would try to blow it out. I began to realize that I couldn't wait for someone else to light my fire. I had to do it myself. I dove into learning every aspect of being an artist, creating my own art, music, photo concepts, and videos from scratch. Finally, I started to revive the light that once burned within me. Slowly, I began to feel the warmth in my chest again. By turning inward toward my own emotional needs, I taught myself to create without waiting for approval or validation from others. Each lesson, each mistake, each small success brought me closer to becoming a better version of myself. I became the keeper of my own flame, and found balance in not letting the candle burn at both ends. I controlled every aspect of my artistic process, taking my ideas from channeled concepts into physical creations. I no longer cared about what other people thought of how I spent my time. I thrived on my own passion and vision, and found joy in creating for myself. I danced to my own songs, I hung up my drawings on my walls, and I even sewed my own clothes. I stopped worrying about how others perceived my work, and simply allowed myself to create. There was no limit to what I could do when I followed my own spark. All the ideas in my head that I thought were impossible started to exist everywhere in the world around me. The process wasn't smooth or easy, but the imperfections made it special. I learned that without the comparison of pain, you can never truly appreciate the feeling of love. The heat of my frustrations, the tension, and the grief, it all stoked the flames that made my creativity burn even brighter. I realized that success wasn't about how large my flame could grow or how brightly it shone to others. Success was about waking up every day and choosing to maintain that inner fire regardless of the rain. The happiness I felt when I created for myself was the true success, and nobody could ever take that away from me. My inner fire now burns with self-love. I tend to it with every song, every piece of art, and every moment of creation in my life. The more I care for that flame, the brighter it burns, steadier, stronger, and more confident than ever. Creating has become as natural as breathing. My fire is steady and peaceful, no longer wavering with doubt or uncertainty. It's a constant presence within me, and I no longer fear the darkness. In fact, I've learned to embrace it, knowing it's part of the process of growth. It's no longer about the outcome, but enjoying exactly where I'm at in the journey. Although the future will always remain uncertain, I trust that no matter where I go, my fire will forever light the way. I'll carry it with me, passing the torch to those who have lost theirs along the path. No longer in need of constant protection, its flame remains eternal as it's shared with others. The creative spark is always within you, even in the darkest times. Sometimes it flickers, but it can never truly die. All you need to do is find it, nurture it, and let it burn. The creative light lives within every single one of us, ready to shine brightly again with each new day. Thank you.
Perfect message for our program tonight, and all the slides that you saw were hand done by Maddi, her art. Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Steffi Munshaw, describing herself as a student for life. Steffi holds a diploma in theater performance from Douglas College, both a BFA with a major in theater performance and Bachelor of Education from SFU, and a master's in Indigenous Educational Leadership from UBC. Performing everything from classics to contemporaries, from opera to absurdism, Steffi loves creating newly imagined works of art both on and backstage, and has worked with many theater companies throughout the Fraser Valley, designing, directing, and stage managing. She has enjoyed a long association with Chilliwack Secondary Characters Musical Theater Company. Most recently, she directed Spamalot and Mamma Mia for this local group. When not in rehearsal, Steffi keeps busy as the principal for Scoyalla Elementary and Secondary School. Steffi, please.
I didn't hand draw my slides, so I'm sorry to disappoint tonight. Well, good evening, folks. My name is Steffi Munshaw, and I'm here representing Secondary Characters Musical Theater Society. It's a local Chilliwack-based musical theater organization, and each year we produce a full-scale musical in Chilliwack. So we thought tonight that we would share a couple of the behind-the-scenes stories, because the audience always gets to see what's happening on the stage instead of what's going on backstage. Our first show back in 2010 was Little Women. I played Jo March, and my good friend at the time played my younger sister, Amy. And there's this iconic fight scene scene in Little Women where Joe and Amy get into this big fight, and I would slap her, and she would slap me, and I'd push her into a chair. And one night I slapped her a bit too hard, and she slapped me even harder back, and I pushed her a bit too hard into the chair, and her chair tipped back onto the back legs, and time froze as she wobbled in the air, and her foot came up in front of my face. And I remember reaching to grab it, to catch her, to pull her back, and thinking, nope, I'm going to win tonight, as she somersaulted backwards out of the chair, and we finished the fight scene with tears of laughter streaming down our face. Our next show was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and our set designer had the brilliant idea to paint the stage floor in Peanuts comic strips. And it was beautiful, but we misestimated the amount of time it would take to paint, and we had the whole cast with blow dryers backstage moments before the curtain opened opening night, trying to dry the comics for us to walk across them. So sometimes when you work on a show, you come up with games to play backstage to keep things fresh and keep yourself interested as it's repetitive and you're doing the same thing every night. So in The Sound of Music, when Maria sings the iconic song, The Lonely Goat Herd, we came up with a little game called the Turd Counter. And it went a little something like this. High on a hill was a lonely goat turd. Lady-oda-lady-oda-lay-hee-hoo. Loud was the voice of the lonely goat turd. Lady-oda-lady-oda-loo. Folks in a town that was quite remote turd. Lady-oda-lady-oda-lay-hee-hoo. Lusty and clear from the goat turd's throat turd. And you count every time she said the word turd, if you didn't catch that. So one of the things that we love the most about community theatre is the family and the connections that are built backstage and amongst the cast and crew. And in Joseph, we had a large group of children who were involved in the show, and they got so connected when we found out that one of the children had a birthday during one of the performances. We filled the makeup room with balloons, and cake was brought in, and they were having so much fun back there that the kids forgot that they had a show to do and actually missed their cue to come on stage. So poor Joseph is singing his heart out to the audience and to just a couple kids who straggled on stage sheepishly as they realized they had missed their cue. And sometimes you get actors that really get into their roles. When we did Into the Woods, our baker decided to challenge himself to bake for the cast and crew every night of the show, which we think maybe had something to do with why Prince Charming's pants split open from front to back one night, revealing his hot pink boxers to the entire audience. Traditionally in a show, the dancers with the most training, they're responsible for assisting with certain parts of the choreographic responsibility. And I'll never forget in The Wizard of Oz, our two littlest munchkins there were semi-professional competitive dancers. So they had all the adults running drills backstage and sweating buckets as these little teeny tiny kids kept them on their toes. And speaking of actors getting a little bit too into their characters, for The Hunchback, we challenged the cast to each come up with a secret for their character and not to tell anyone. When we built these masks for the Feast of Fools, they found ways to manifest their secret into the shape of their mask. And after the show was done, we asked them to share what their secrets were. And things got a little bit intense. We had some people being like, your father ran over my brother with his horse cart. And other people being like, I was stealing from the milkman. And someone else being like, I was the milkman and I was sleeping with your wife. We even had graffiti backstage on the set from the performers as well in character. It's a tradition in theatre that it's bad luck to say good luck, so you don't say good luck. You say break a leg to say good luck. Well, when we did Spelling Bee, we had a cast member who did exactly that. She finished a dance number, and while she was walking across the stage, she rolled her ankle and broke a bone in her foot. So we had to redo the whole show for her to be in crutches and a cast. In our production of Sweeney Todd, we had a few dummies backstage that we used as dead bodies in the show for certain effects. And when you'd go backstage, the crew started to have some fun with these dummies back there. One time I went backstage and all of the dummies were doing yoga poses, sun salutations backstage. Another night I went back and they all had poker hands in their hands and they were playing strip poker. And one night I went back there and somebody had dressed them up as Buddy the Elf, and the entire backstage was full of paper snowflakes. It was beautiful. And I had to frantically pull off the elf costume so I could throw them on stage for the show. Our next show after Sweeney Todd, one of our next shows was Mamma Mia, and the fateful year 2020 that none of us will ever forget was when we tried to do our run of Mamma Mia and we had to cancel because of COVID. But then came 2021 when we again tried to perform Mamma Mia and had to cancel because of COVID. And then came 2022 when we remounted Mamma Mia and had to cancel because the entire cast got COVID. But we did finally eventually have our show that year. In the meantime, meantime, during all of this, I got engaged, I got married, got pregnant, and load in for our run of the show. I was calling the lighting designer from Surrey Memorial Hospital saying, I'm having contractions, don't tell the cast, I'll be there as soon as I can. So this past summer, as Ian mentioned, we did have a production of Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot. And so as a way to kind of see if our potential cast was going to have the acting chops for the silliness of Monty Python, I asked everybody who came to auditions to prepare a hobby horse routine, sans hobby horse. Not really thinking anybody would do it, but wanting to give them kind of a heads up of the flavor of humor in the show. And every single actor showed up with a hobby horse routine prepared. So some would do dressage, and we're doing fancy footwork on their invisible hobby horses. Others were running laps and jumps, and we even had one performer who, unfortunately, was thrown by his invisible hobby horse. So this summer we are presenting Something Rotten, which is the musical about Shakespeare. So if you would like to join in the fun, the chaos, the memories, either on stage or off stage, we are always looking for more people to come share what we are so passionate about doing with us. So you can find us on social media as Secondary Characters, or Google us and check out our website for more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steffi. Next presenting is Nicole Reid, the General Manager of Community Futures South Fraser, and a serial entrepreneur with a passion for empowering small businesses. With years of experience in business development, she thrives on coaching entrepreneurs, helping them navigate challenges and celebrating their wins. Known for her straight talk, strategic thinking, and community-driven approach, Nicole is dedicated to fostering economic growth and innovation in the South Fraser region. The South Fraser region, that's a hard one to say. I haven't been drinking either. Nicole also serves Chilliwack as councillor on Chilliwack City Council, representing her community on a variety of boards and committees, including Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation, Fraser Valley Regional Hospital Board, Heritage Advisory Committee, and several others. Councillor Reid is deeply rooted to the Rotary Club of Chilliwack, like her father and mother before her, allowing her to give back to the community that has given her and her family so many opportunities. Nicole, please.
Thanks, Ian, and thank you, Jason, for that lovely heckle. Okay, Tim. Imagine standing in the middle of a dark room holding a single match. With one strike, the whole space changes. With that tiny spark, that's creativity. And for entrepreneurs, that spark is everything. It's the moment an idea takes shape, a problem finds a solution, or a risk turns into a revolution. I'm Nicole Reid, a farm kid born into a family of entrepreneurs. Opportunity was everywhere, especially in the walnut tree outside my parents' farm store. One day I gathered the fresh walnuts, I set up a stand, and I convinced my parents to let them sell them by weight. Sales were booming until the tree ran out. But no problem, I raided my mom's stash of dried walnuts hanging in the basement. Turns out, dried walnuts weigh less. A tough lesson in pricing by weight. But also my first taste of entrepreneurship, and I was hooked. I want you to meet my parents, Jim and Will Heidema, entrepreneurs by choice and by necessity. Immigrants to British Columbia, far from family, they built their place in the world the only way they knew how, by creating first a farm, then a farm store, where they packaged milk and made ice cream and delivered it door to door. But that was just the beginning. With their kids by their side, they launched a pool business, bought a sporting goods store, became partners at Fraser Valley Meats and a local restaurant. Because for true entrepreneurs, building something bigger is the only way forward. And growing up in this family, building something bigger was in my DNA. I started with sales and marketing, then moved to vacation rentals, and eventually 8 long years in the restaurant business taught me the hustle, the heartbreak, and the wins of entrepreneurship. Every venture was a lesson, every challenge a stepping stone, and all of it led me to where I am today. January 2020, I landed my dream job at Community Futures, helping entrepreneurs navigate their challenges, just like I had. I was ready to make an impact, to be the support I wish that I had had. And 7 weeks later, COVID hit and everything shut down. But what about businesses? What about the dreams built on the years of sweat and sacrifice? The challenges ahead were bigger than any one person could tackle alone. It wasn't just one organization stepping up, it was all of us. Our group came together early and often to find real ways to support entrepreneurs. If entrepreneurship teaches you anything, it's that resilience isn't a solo act. It's a community effort. And that creative spark led to Project Restart, a series of workshops tackling business challenges, one-on-one support with specialists, and microgrants to help businesses reopen their doors. It wasn't just about surviving, it was about rebuilding together. And we helped 156 local entrepreneurs restart and keep their staff employed. We weren't done collaborating. As Project Restart wrapped up, a new challenge emerged: workforce shortages. Businesses were open, but employees weren't returning, and hiring became a battle. We knew the workers were out there, but employers needed new strategies to attract and retain them. That's where Workforce Connection was born, a year-long initiative designed to help businesses think differently about hiring, training, and retention. The project culminated in a 2-day live virtual conference held right here at Cowork Chilliwack, bringing together experts, employers, and job seekers to spark a solution. When challenges evolve, so do we. So now I want you to meet some of our entrepreneurs. Meet Brandon from Smoking Gun Coffee Roasters. The first time I met him, he was roasting coffee as a hobby in his garage, just a guy who loved good coffee. Then COVID hit, and instead of waiting it out, he took a risk. He started brewing and selling coffee, and that's when his passion turned into a business. We had a few conversations at his roasting space about what could come next, and before we knew it, Algra Bros saw Brandon's potential, and he was ready to scale up. Through Community Futures, he secured financing for a bigger, better roaster, and today Brandon's one of our biggest champions. Not only is he a mentor to other entrepreneurs, but he's also constantly sounding the horn of Community Futures. Meet Joanne, the owner of Beautiful Minds Learning Center. The first time she walked into our downtown office, she carried a huge bag filled with papers of her dream of starting a daycare. As a new immigrant to Canada, she knew the challenges ahead, but she had every detail mapped out. Her passion and precision paid off, and with Community Futures financing, she opened a brand new daycare in 2022. Today, Beautiful Minds is thriving. Joanne's spark, energy, and her belief in her dream built a place where little minds grow. That's the kind of impact that lasts. Finally, meet Kelly, founder of Flex Cycle House. Her journey started with a deep love for rhythm riding, and after years as an instructor and a master trainer, she knew she wanted more. She had the knowledge, the passion, and the vision to create something of her own. But stepping into entrepreneurship, that felt like an island. Exciting, but isolating. Community Futures became her sounding board, her support system, her own community. And with the right guidance, Kelly transformed her dream into Flex Cycle House. Today, she's not just leading rides, she's leading a movement. Because when passion meets the right support, sparks turn into something unstoppable. Entrepreneurship isn't a solo journey. It's built on community and collaboration. And every business starts with an idea, but it grows with the support of others. We've seen it time and time again. Entrepreneurs who take a leap, they face challenges, they push forward, not alone, but with a network behind them. Whether it's a coffee roaster scaling up, a daycare filling a critical need, or a cycling studio bringing people together through movement, success happens when passion meets support. Think about the sparks in your own journey. Who's in your corner? Who can you collaborate with? When we work together, we build a community that fuels the next wave of entrepreneurs. And that is something worth celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Ferne Heaps, our next presenter, is a creative dynamo, approaching every activity she takes on with full-out enthusiasm, contributing fresh and stimulating ideas, and successfully leading the teams of individuals who love working with her. Be it serving on the BC Summer Games Committee or chair of the Chilliwack Foundation, Ferne is a community builder who brings out the best in the organizations and people she collaborates with. A longtime believer in giving back and helping up, Ferne shines out as a Chilliwack creative spark to be long honored, looked up to, and emulated. This evening, she shares with us her long cherished passion, the Chilliwack Foundation. Ferne, please.
Thank you, Ian. Tim? Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you some information about the Chilliwack Foundation and how it lights a spark in me. Thanks to the commitment of Chilliwack citizens just like you and me, the Chilliwack Foundation was incorporated in 1985 by an act in Parliament. The intent of the foundation was to allow Chilliwack citizens to donate, gift, or bequeath funds to an entity that would ensure the money stayed in Chilliwack and was used to provide grants to local nonprofit organizations and scholarships to our grade 12 graduates. Talk about a creative spark. Several objects were laid out in the Act to define where these funds should be allocated and to whom. One very important object was to help men, women, and children, and those who are sick, destitute, and helpless. Chilliwack Foundation grants include the feeding and housing of persons in our community by covering the cost of the equipment to make this possible. These organizations then provide the necessary care and comfort. In addition, grants have been given to the Chilliwack Search and Rescue because sometimes helplessness occurs from unintended accidents. Another object of the Chilliwack Foundation is to alleviate human suffering. The Chilliwack Hospice Center and transition houses are frequently in need of assistance and receive Chilliwack Foundation grants. The object to ensure that our human, natural, and heritage resources are conserved to better our community and ensure that they are available to those who live here was also a requirement. Grants to these organizations secures our history and brings people together to promote and share in our community resources. The original founders also wanted to make certain that cultural organizations were able to thrive as well. With that in mind, many grants are given to our cultural nonprofits so that the community has a balanced lifestyle available to all. Then, of course, Chilliwack Foundation funds are meant to promote recreational activities in our community and as well to many school programs and elementary school playground equipment. Keeping in mind this equipment benefits not only the schools, but also the surrounding neighborhoods. The Chilliwack Foundation's object of promoting educational advancement and alleviating human suffering has led to grants for needed equipment for Justice Institute paramedic students, UFE nursing students, and to the Chilliwack Hospital. I first learned about the Chilliwack Foundation in 1993 while we were wrapping up the Chilliwack BC Summer Games. Thanks to the generosity of corporate sponsors, we had $160,000 left in the coffers. So we chose to gift this to the then 8-year-old Chilliwack Foundation. Of course, with the request that the funds be divided between grants to sports and cultural organizations and to create lasting scholarships. This led me to sitting on the Chilliwack Foundation Scholarship Selection Committee for a number of years in the 1990s. And then in 2011, I had the pleasure of joining the Distribution Committee, where twice a year we receive, review, and award Chilliwack Foundation grants. My spark was fully lit by this point. When the Chilliwack Foundation celebrated its 30th anniversary, we hosted an event to recognize every volunteer who had served with the foundation, including those who had been on that original planning committee. During this event, featuring several scholarship recipients, was a highlight for me, as I spent countless hours tracking down and speaking with over 40 of them. When I spoke with one of the first Chilliwack Foundation scholarship recipients, this young woman said her scholarship not only helped her financially, it also gave her confidence and encouragement. These are things that each and every student who dedicates themselves to their studies rightly deserves. Along with many other awards, this next exceptional student also received a Chilliwack Foundation scholarship. Today, he is a renowned neurosurgeon in Kingston, Ontario. These two students are just a few examples of the amazing young people Chilliwack Foundation scholarships have assisted with their endeavors. Since Chilliwack Foundation scholarships began in 1986, $1,235,129 have been awarded to Chilliwack graduates from the Chilliwack Foundation. As the Chilliwack Foundation celebrates its 40th anniversary this year, we do it with a portfolio of over $11 million. Keeping in mind that these funds will never be spent, they remain invested in perpetuity, and only the income earned on these investments is used to fund Chilliwack Foundation scholarships and grants. But it isn't just that total that makes me excited. It's really this one. I've only told you about a handful of the 142 Chilliwack nonprofits and countless students who have benefited from the generosity of Chilliwack Foundation donors. They are the key to all of this. Without them, none of it would be possible. Although I have just completed an 8-year tenure on the Chilliwack Foundation board, I'm still very involved with committee work, audits, special events, and promotions. And I must admit that I'm very proud to be associated with this incredible organization and the rest of the amazing volunteers that make it work. Am I passionate about the Chilliwack Foundation? You're darn right I am. How could I not be? Now, on behalf of the wonderful, thoughtful, community-minded people whose vision lit the spark that created the Chilliwack Foundation, I hope we've managed to share that spark with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferne. Glenn Howard, our next speaker, is the IT manager for Vischer Lumber and Westform Metals. Nearly 26 years ago, he moved to Chilliwack from Prince George to take on this role. His passion for computers began in the days of Commodore VIC-20 and has only grown since then. A true tech enthusiast, he enjoys ham radio, building computers, home automation, programming, and all things geeky. But his interests don't stop there. He's also active in the Chilliwack arts community, serving on the board of the Chilliwack Players Guild and occasionally stepping onto the stage himself. Today, he's excited to share how his blending of theater and technology has sparked his creativity. Glenn, please.
I've spent my whole life involved with IT. Computers have always been my hobby, and I'm fortunate that it's also become my career. Now, I know that some of you may be thinking, what does a computer guy know about creativity? Valid question. So I'd like you to picture the tech guru in your life. Now take them out from behind the screen, dress them up in a silly costume, plop them on stage, and that was me in 2018 when I was cast in Murder on the Nile with the Chilliwack Players Guild. Not exactly your typical IT hobby, right? I got hooked. Since then, I've been involved in many productions with the Players Guild. And one of the things that amazes me about theater is the sheer number of people involved. Costumes, props, sets, every item you see on stage has been intentionally chosen. But to choose something, you need to know what you have. And at the Players Guild, we have a lot. We have one of the largest theater costume collections in the Fraser Valley. We had a system to track it. Her name is Mary. Then Mary retired. And now we have a room full of costumes and a rough idea of what's in there. Props had a different system, an old Microsoft Access database. If you're not in IT, that probably sounds fine. If you are in IT, you did just cringe. Members, we track them in a spreadsheet. I took that on for a year. A spreadsheet is not a database. Okay, I do want to talk about magic. Imagination, setting aside the what is and indulging in the what if. At Players Guild, we went through the imagination process. What if our props computer dies and takes our database with it? That's not a good dream. Okay, what if we could share our collection of costumes? What if we could become a resource for other theater groups? Loaning costumes, props, and even scripts. Now we're talking. What if we actually know what's in our collections? Game-changing. And what if there were a way that I could come up with a solution? So I asked my friends Gordon and Kevin to help me find some software. We couldn't find anything that would do what I was looking for. And if you can't buy it, we'd have to settle for less or build it. And if nothing exists, then there must be a larger need. And so that was the birth of the software we now call Odeumate. We dove in. We asked the Players Guild to dream big. Not only what is the need, but what would make it amazing. And as it turns out, people like to dream big. Okay, so let's make this web-based. We'll make it an app. That way we're not limited to one person at a time or that person being at a specific computer. Let's not just track props, costumes, and members, but let's dream bigger and build out the ability to track all sorts of theater-related things. We started with props. We transferred the old data and photos from the Access database, which was a big thing because we have over 2,000 unique props inventoried. We added the ability to barcode everything. We let props be part of multiple categories, and now we have the ability to search and filter quickly. When we have a scene that needs a tray, we can simply filter for the category tray, scroll through and find the one that looks like the best match. We can pull up the details, pictures, histories, schedule, and where the prop is in the prop room. Next, we took on costumes. We figured, hey, a costume's essentially an item, like a prop, right? We can store them in locations, photograph them, categorize them. And it turns out that costumes are a bit more complicated. They've got measurements. Inseam, shoulder to shoulder, shoe size, So we built category-specific measurement tracking. Your shirts will prompt you for sleeve length, while your slacks will ask you about the inseam. And we extended things out so that an item can be part of more than one category in case some of those lines get blurred. We have an inventory of scripts for almost 600 different productions. Thankfully, no complicated measurements. We included the ability for multiple categories, scripts, genres, and we make sure that we track cast requirements. We've even added the ability to record some ratings by our local play reading committee. And then we tackled memberships. Remember my love for tracking members in spreadsheets? Yeah, no. I will spend hours coding a solution to avoid 15 minutes of repetitive work. We wanted to keep the look and feel consistent to make sure that we show the most relevant information at a glance and make it not so boring to use. So now the power comes when we link it all together via events, shows. We can assign items to events, people to events, costumes to people. You get the idea. At the beginning of any production, a costumer will measure up the actors. So let's link those measurements to people. And that starts to get interesting, because let's add a smart search. Instead of digging through racks of costumes, a costumer could type, "I need a generic priest costume for Glenn." And boom, options. Hey, and people who sign out this suit often add a hat. Yes, we were able to do something like that before, but now we don't have to call Mary. Oh, and you may also want to add a Bible and cross necklace, just in case. So let's dream bigger yet. The Players Guild partners with other theater groups. With some IT magic and agreements between groups, we can Odeumate searches to include items from multiple groups. Borrowing and lending between theaters becomes seamless. So community theater, but with the community for theaters. Imagination fuels creativity. The invitation to imagine, that was my spark. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Our final presenter is Tim McAlpine, the founder of Currency Marketing. Got some fans here tonight, I see. Probably a room full of them. I know his parents are here too. That's maybe one. And Cowork Chilliwack. He's known for developing It's a Money Thing financial education program that credit unions from around North America are using to connect with new young adult members. Locally, he is founder of Cowork Chilliwack, this building, a Chilliwack Economic Partners board member, and the former board chair of Mount Lehman Credit Union and the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce. He's going to talk to us about his career as a creative entrepreneur. Mr. McAlpine.
Thank you. Mom, while I'm out here, could I get you to press some buttons? All right. I've been a self-employed creative entrepreneur for 40 years, if you can believe it. I started my first business with two buddies in 1985 in Penticton, the BMX Express Freestyle Trick Team. We just booked our first paying gig at the mall for $200, but it conflicted with my upcoming shift at my real job at McDonald's. I asked for time off and was denied. I recall tearing up that paper hat on the spot and quitting. More likely, I didn't show up for my shift and I was fired. In grade 11, we moved to Chilliwack. I landed an after-school job at a local sign company based entirely on my ability to paint BMX logos on my ramps. After finishing grade 12, I went to UFV to earn a graphic design diploma. In my last semester, I asked my favorite professor, what kind of job should I be looking for? He stared me right at the eye and said, "There are no jobs for graphic designers. You have to create your own." That took me a while to sink in. So upon graduation in 1990, I founded McAlpine Graphic Communications and have been self-employed ever since. From 90 to 95, I worked solo and designed more than 400 logos for businesses in the Upper Fraser Valley, along with other simple design projects. What you're seeing on screen is just a sampling from A to C. There's an archive of another 300 and some. From 95 to 2000, I started Ad Staff. We evolved into a full-service marketing agency. We took on product advertising, packaging, radio and TV commercials, and websites for a wide range of clients. By the time 2000 rolled around, I had a dozen employees with 2 areas of client concentration and made the decision to specialize. I changed the name of the company to Currency Passport Marketing and ran 2 divisions, Currency for financial services, primarily credit unions, and Passport for tourism clients. By 2007, we shifted our energy 100% behind the currency marketing side of things and continue to work only with credit unions. We launched our innovative Young and Free marketing program with a credit union in Alberta. It was an immersive brand ambassador campaign to attract young adults. Each year, a new spokesperson was hired through a public search to engage and educate young members, promoting credit union services online and in person. It was influencer marketing before that was ever a thing. During the program's run, 39 young people held this dynamic Young and Free spokesper role and helped credit unions across the U.S. and Canada attract more than 250,000 new members. During this 10-year run, I also spoke at more than 100 credit union conferences. Yes, those are a thing. And did a bunch of writing for credit union publications. I flew 1 million miles and visited 37 states. In 2009, I co-founded CU Water Cooler Conference, and we produced 9 annual credit union conferences in the U.S. in cities including Indianapolis, Austin, Kansas City, Nashville, and Madison. We held these events in really cool theater space, not unlike this one, but a little bigger, and built a loyal following. In 2015, we wound down Young and Free after a 10-year run, and we started a financial education program called It's a Money Thing to really help more credit unions attract and educate young adults. It's a Money Thing is a membership-based library of digital content, and it can be used online and in the real world. Also in 2015, I was able to purchase a space I had been leasing for the past 15 years. And to best utilize this space, I founded Cowork Chilliwack. I bought the center 2 units you see in the picture there, and then added the one on the left in 2018. It's been running a little over 10 years now, and it continues to evolve. I converted the space you're in now to something we call Studio C. We specialize in premium multi-camera video production. We host in-person events, virtual events, and produce podcasts. The multi-purpose studio features the main stage, the podcast studio, the control room, and the green room. You can tell that I've been on a lot of airplanes. This is where we sit today. Underneath the currency umbrella, we have It's a Money Thing, Cowork Chilliwack, which is my side hustle, and the side hustle to the side hustle is Studio C. To finish off, I'm going to go deeper into each of these areas and tell you how things are going today. It's a Money Thing now encompasses a robust library of 60 financial topics. The centerpiece of each topic is a highly entertaining and educational animated video. We've got 48 topics in our library, perfect for 13 to 35-year-olds, 6 for 6 to 12-year-olds, and 4 topics for those approaching retirement, kind of like me. We have more than 120 credit unions that license our content, including more than 100 in the U.S. and approximately 20 in Canada. Our member credit unions are seeing great results, not just in member education, but in growth as well. Hundreds of thousands of young people have increased their financial capability with the help of It's a Money Thing. On the Cowork Chilliwack side, I purchased another unit to the right from that wall over, and now we have a footprint of 12,000 square feet. We have over 70 hot desk and office members that work here, and an additional 60 businesses that use Cowork Chilliwack as their mailing address. With more than 120 registered businesses, I believe that we are the largest contributor of business licenses at the single address in Chilliwack. Right, Mr. Lum? Yes. If you look at Google Maps, it's a hot mess. It's a mix of all sorts of different entrepreneurs growing their businesses under one roof. It's hard to estimate the total economic output of this space, but it's significant. Studio C used to be the photo studio for the marketing agency. Somewhere in the middle, it was my storage and hoarding problem. When we opened the Cowork space, we added a stage up here and 1 camera in the back. There are now 18 cameras, 30 monitors, and more than a mile of video cabling throughout the studio. It's out of hand. It's been personally rewarding to figure all this stuff out using YouTube videos. So we produce our own monthly events, including launch stories and Creative Third Thursdays. The studio is regularly rented out for corporate seminars, webinars, workshops, music events, live streaming, podcasting. This is a picture of the Bigger Than Me podcast, and we had David Eby sitting right over there, so that's pretty cool. Looking forward, I don't see myself retiring anytime soon. I will continue to pursue creative entrepreneurship in one form or another. The best advice that I was ever given was, there are no jobs for graphic designers. You have to create one. Thank you. And because I'm in charge and put the slides together, I did, and you're probably wondering, what the heck is this It's a Money thing? So I've got one short video for you to show you what that is. Roll it, Elise.
Ah, money. Having it feels so good, and yet learning about it feels so boring. That is, until now. It's a Money Thing is the new way to learn about personal finance, because everything is better with cartoons. Bite-sized episodes teach you about stuff like this, and this, from experts like this mad scientist, this talking squirrel, and wait, is that an actual loan shark? Okay then, check out It's a Money Thing to face your financial fears and emerge victorious like some sort of expert money ninja. You go, money ninja. It's a money thing. Explaining money is our thing.
And Grandma, since you didn't get to the buttons, your granddaughter's running the show right now. So.
On behalf of the Creative Commission, a CEPCO committee, and President Brian Coombs, I want to thank all those who made this program possible. First, I'd like to thank the speakers, Darren, Ferne, Glenn, Maddi, Tim, Steffi, and Nicole for sharing your stories and passions for creativity. I'm sure everyone in the room and online has been inspired and informed by your talks. And I believe as a result of your words and images, we all feel better about living together in this amazing community. Thank you to Nettie Tam and the staff at CEPCO for all your unfailing behind-the-scenes coordination. Thank you to Tim McAlpine from Studio C at Cowork Chilliwack for your considerable efforts in making this event possible. He's splitting his technical operations tonight in the control room with his daughter, Elise. And thank you to all of us who joined us for our 2025 Creative Spark.